today's the day. The machine is now 100% working order, so it's kind of time to start stripping it down and get it ready for shopping, cleaning, giving it a good working over. Here's all the bits and pieces that I wouldn't attempt taking my pinball apart without. The first thing is pen and paper. I want to be noting everything that I'm doing, what order I'm doing in it, what order I take it apart in, and then reverse that for putting it back together. I've got a camera. This is to take pictures of the different components, how they go together, and it's also a memory for when I'm putting that back together. It can get very confusing when you have a box just full of all loose bits. Plastic bags. This is for keeping all the separate bits together. I use a bit of a marker pen there to make sure that that's all marked up, so I know where everything comes from and all the separate parts in their own bag from a certain area. And this is something I would not undertake without having the manual. The manual is going to show me the different bits, how they go together, how special parts are disassembled and reassembled, so I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't have the manual for this machine. First thing I'm going to be tackling is the removal of the mini playfield. I've gone through the book. These are the instructions for removing and servicing the mini playfield. So that's what I'm about to undertake. The next thing to do is to put the main playfield into the service position. That's tilting it up and moving it forward, resting that on its support brackets. And then it's about grasping the front edge of the mini playfield, swinging it over on its hinged point, and we can rest that just up against the back glass. So now with the mini playfield now removed, it kind of gives us an idea of how the ball is running underneath there. We can see all these tracks. This is the area where the mini playfield was standing. This over here is where all the wires were coming through. Mini playfield was resting on here, being screwed in and fixed on there, which I see is a bit loose. That could do with tightening up. At the back over here we see we've got a run. If you defeat the mini playfield, your ball is going into that run and going back down into the game over there. And this is the area underneath the playfield that the ball is running around when it's doing a loop, and this is absolutely filthy. It's really, really mucky. So all that dirt is being carried around by the ball into the rest of the game. Now to remove this bracket that the mini playfield has been sitting on, I'm holding the post at the bottom with a spanner, because as I'm trying to untighten that nut, it's just turning at the bottom there. So I'm just going in, keeping that nice and still, and then we can remove that. There's that screw. It looks rusty, looks bent, not in good condition. I'm going to be looking at replacing that. I think just having a look now at what we have access to now that we've removed that mini playfield. Notice first of all our ball popper. We're able to have access to the nuts that hold that in place, so that's going to be a relatively easy thing to remove now. Also our ramps, a lot of the actual bolts that hold the ramps in place are situated right underneath where we've just removed, so we wouldn't have been able to get in there, wouldn't have been able to remove any of those without removing that mini playfield. So I think it was a good move removing that in the first place. I think for me the next items to go need to be our diverters over here. They again are covering over a lot of access to my playing field, so I reckon once this is out of the way, there's two of them, one over there and the other one, will have a lot better access underneath the field to be removing things like our ramps and all the bits and bobs that surround that. Well, that didn't do very much. That just removes the plastic from the top, so kind of a bit of a waste of time, but we'll examine some more. I think that this needs to be dismantled from the bottom upwards. Reading the instructions, which I should probably have done in the first place, I see the way to be removing this is from the bottom upwards. The idea is first of all to remove this spring carefully, then secondly just on the other side of this arm is almost like a set screw. It's a big thick washer, and it's got Allen's key screws on the side, so it's about loosening those and then actually pulling the shaft right up through the playfield to remove these diverters. So I'm about to do that now. A really nice tool for removing springs are these kind of little surgical tweezers, because they really allow you to get a good grip, allow you to get in there, get hold of that, so I can really carefully bring that down. And I'm going to put that straight into my bag, because that's an easily lost piece. So I've got a marked bag, I'm going to pop it in now. I think what's become clear to me is that in order for me to get in there easily, to be able to get to those Allen keys that I need to turn, which are behind this arm, I'm going to need to first be removing this. This is the saucer eject coil, so I'm going to be removing that first. Just let it hang, and that'll give me access to be able to get in there to get to the diverter. I think there's a little more than meets the eye with this saucer kick out. It's got a little hood on the top of it, so taking it out is not going to be as straightforward as I first thought. I'm going to kind of have to bend this around, but I've checked it on the table side. It looks like that's exactly what it is. It's just a matter of bending it over to be able to remove that. There's a switch underneath it, and I'm just conscious not to damage that. There we go, there's the piece with its hood, and that's kind of slotted out. Gives me a lot nicer access to get underneath there. Very dirty. That's what we're talking about. That's on the ramp diverter. If I turn that, you can see that dark spot there. That's where the Allen key needs to get in to remove that. So I've got a lot better access, because this was previously being blocked by that popper. So that's the first ramp diverter removed from the middle left hand side diverter ramp. I think I'm going to remove the rest of that ramp. This kind of just screws into a post that lies underneath it, a bracket very similar to the mini playfield bracket that we removed earlier. Big long screw, good support in the bag. The ramp is nice and loose, so I'm just going to unscrew these two screws at the base, which I feel are holding that on. There's the one, there's the other, and I think that's going to kind of give me nice access to remove that. I've got a feeling that it's going to be connected underneath this ramp to all these electrics here, which are connected to the actual ramps leading to it, so we'll get to that bit in a sec. In the bag. There we go. That's that coming off. I see I've got some wires running through here, so I'm going to need to go down under, and I'm going to need to find the connector for that, unconnect it, and of course mark it up so I remember how to put it back together again, but that's that off. Fine marking pen, and I'm just going to mark that 4, I'll mark this one 5, here's another one which will mark 6. Now this one here runs through to one of the other rings, so it's not connected to the ramp, but we're going to need to take it apart anyway, so may as well do that now. There you go. 4, 5 and 6. These just pull apart. There they go. 4, 5 and 6. So that's the ramp removed. What I want to do is I just want to use my felt tip, and I want to just put here, bottom left. Nobody's ever going to see that, and again, you just can't be too careful when taking things apart. Make sure you know where they go when you're putting them back together again.